Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Give me 1 minute. Can somebody please confirm if you are able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Let us offer our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thanks everybody for joining this session. I thought of having this particular session because without touch of this particular session, we may not be able to appreciate fully the 11th chapter. So whatever Arjuna heard till 10th chapter, specifically in 10th chapter, how Krishna expressed how he is the essence, or how is the dharma of every single thing, the prime quality which makes that thing's existence. So after hearing all these different qualities of Krishna, Arjuna was more motivated to know how this entire universe is created by Krishna. So he requested specifically Krishna to show the blueprint of this creation. And this was a very interesting subject matter, the way it is covered in 11th chapter. And I thought this chapter will help to get a brief preview. I'll try to wrap up as fast as possible, although it's a very fast. And I would like to reserve at least 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. Let's see. I'll share this PPT with all of you at the end of this session, so you can go through them. And if you have any questions, you can ask. I may not be able to cover entire content because these are 40 slides and we have less than 40 minutes. But let's see whatever we can cover. So this is a very important first shloka from Sri Ishopanishad, which says, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Purnam Adaha means spiritual world, Purnam Idam, this material world. Purnat Purnam Udechyate, from the complete whole this material world comes. Purnasya Purnam Adaya, although from that complete, this complete world has come up. Purnasya Purnam, Purnam Evava Shishyate. So still the spiritual world remains complete. So what it in essence it says that the spiritual world is absolutely perfect and complete for the purpose. So spiritual world's purpose is, honestly, everybody is their lover of God. They want to serve the God. They want to enjoy the time with the God. So whatever is required for their consciousness, everything is there in the spiritual world. Material world is meant for purification. It is meant for gradual development of consciousness, and it is meant to propel living entities to go out of this material world. So for the purpose for which this material world is created, for that purpose it is absolutely perfect. And this material world has come from the spiritual world. And although there are so many material worlds have come from the spiritual world, but still it's not that there is something lacking in the spiritual world. Spiritual world is still absolutely perfect. So this is very sense complex concept explained in this one verse. If time permits, we can revisit this. So why we are covering this particular part here is, there are billions of I would say finances which are billions of dollars are spent to understand how the universe has begun. There are so many scientists who are studying whatever the nature and the laws in the universe they can imagine, with the right from the black hole to Big Bang to pulsar, quasars, and so many other concepts. And then there are practical experiments also being carried out. As some of you know, near in Switzerland only, that they have this circle below the Bern where this Large Hadron Collider was constructed. And so basically it just says that human beings, they have evolved consciousness, and they are always looking for some higher reasons that why, what is the purpose and how we are created, and if we can achieve the purpose of our life by understanding the purpose of the creation of this universe. So this has been a fascinating subject matter. It has been taught in many universities, but this is all about trying to imagine various theories and then trying to see what all things fits in universe, and they have been evolving over a period of time. So whatever we are trying to understand, we are actually within the universe. It's like trying to be inside the computer. I mean, when the computer was created, it was really big. And inside the computer, if you go around and see, okay, there are so many resistors, transistors, understanding where is the flow is going, understanding the purpose of this computer and who created and all. That is the one way. Second part is about there is a manual out of the computer. That person who actually had some idea in his mind, what should go from where and all. With that manual, it becomes very easy to understand how this computer is created and what is the purpose of it. So that's just a gist of it, showing the importance. The interesting fact is, when we study anything within this universe, right from the construction of eye, how the eye signal is carried out, how brain processes various things in how it stores various thoughts, how determination, all these various qualities come into picture, how the hearing process works with the ear, how the distance between sun and earth is maintained so perfectly that if earth is little closer, it will get burnt, and if it goes little away, it will be super cold, so human existence won't be possible. And so if you look small things in the universe, small laws, right from magnetism to electricism to gravity and everything is just perfectly done. So for all the scientists, the more they study about this nature, even materially, right from microscopic nature to even ants, their digestive system, their lifestyle, their thought process, even some small animal within the sea, their lifestyle, their physical features, and whatever is required for them to survive. So everything is designed absolutely perfectly. So whether you are microbiologist, whether you are studying aerospace science, computer science, anything, if you go in deep, it actually forces you to think that there is a perfect designer behind everything, and all the scientists deeply believed in it. And we as a devotee, when we look at this particular science, it is actually it's not just okay, where is what. So I wanted to give this very specific example of Parikshit Maharaj. He actually was faced with the curse that he will die within a 7 days. And even in that 7 days, the questions what he asked was one of this: how this universe is created. So Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 canto, one of the canto, fifth canto. So it's almost like 10% material. It was explaining about this entire creation of the universe. Now, Parikshit Maharaj was very much eager. He was looking forward to go to the spiritual world. But still, why was he wanted to know about this material world? It is not just a construction of this universe, like a construction of some motor or something like that. In every small thing, he was looking how Krishna's intelligence, his concern, his thought process for various living entities, everything was manifested in the construction of this universe. So when we see certain design, so today I was looking at handwriting of my daughter, and I was fascinated that she could use it in different pens in certain manner. So when I look at that handwriting, it is not just a handwriting; it is the quality or the skills of some personality of writing certain way. So when we look at the universe, we look at the various planetary system. So the purpose behind mind is Lord has actually thought not just his friends or neutral people, even his souls who are kind of inimical, or they don't want to believe in the Lord. Even for them also, Lord has created so many facilities for them also to evolve gradually in this world. So this world actually is a very important concept that when we look at it from the perspective of the heart or the concern which Lord has put us for ourselves, for you and me, to sustain in this particular material world. So with this background, and there is also explanations from Vedas, some authentic theories. So what we are going to look at is particularly from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually essence of all the Vedic knowledge. And we'll be picking up certain concepts from that, and we will be looking at construction of this universe, purpose of the construction of this universe from Bhagavatam perspective. So it all starts from right from even the fifth canto initial part, that Narada Muni, he particularly asked Lord Brahma, who is within this universe. So if any of you are not conversant about these words, maybe later on in due course of conversation, you'll come across. They'll get more clear. So Lord Brahma is actually creation. He's the secondary creator of this entire world. So Narad Muni asked that these symptoms, the background, the creation, conservation, control, source, protection, so many other things, means if you are designing certain things, there are even right while building also the electricity, the plumbing pipeline, from where the people will go. In worst case scenario, what will happen? The fire exit. So many things are thought. It is not just living and chilling there. So while creating this entire universe, so many things are actually thought. So Narad Muni, the directly disciple of Lord Brahma, he asked that, is this all your thought process? Is it all your creations? Lord Brahma clearly answers that this all creation is actually inspired to me by Lord Krishna. So the next set of verses is all actually Lord Brahma, who is actually the secondary creator, how he got this knowledge and how he has designed the universe. He goes on explaining the next set of verses. So this process of cosmic creation, what we are going to discuss, is from the Vedic perspective. Some may tend to believe, some may not tend to believe, but what I want to say is any theory which we are going to analyze, if we at least just listen it from the perspective that it might be true, then you will be able to connect dots and you will be able to get a more clear picture of what the creator wants to say. If there are some gaps, particularly from Vedic perspective, definitely you will find some gaps, but all answers are already there in Vedas if you search enough. In modern theory, if I think of something creation, then I may just, whatever justification I may give, they may not be coherent to one another. So this is a very perfect Vedic perspective about how this cosmic creation came into existence. So I would like to jump to this particular diagram where this Mahavishnu, he actually starts creating this universe. So let me jump to certain slide. Yeah, this one. So what happens is, as from the perspective of creation, Mahavishnu is actually lying in the causal ocean. In fact, this entire ocean's water itself is created from the personality of this Mahavishnu, from his bodily powers. And that's why this water is very pure. It's called as causal or Karana ocean, the reason of this existence. This Mahavishnu deity is also in charge of the falsico. So that is kind of a reason for us to exist in this particular material world. So this Mahavishnu, as he inhales and exhales, as he exhales, there are so many universes comes, parallel universes from his bodily pores. Now, when I say parallel universe, doesn't mean the same soul is existing in every universe. Every universe has unique set of souls, but all these universe, they do emanate from Mahavishnu's body, and this knowledge is there in the scriptures who are thousands of years old. So this is not a modern concept. This is age-old concept. So when Mahavishnu breathes out, so many universes comes from his bodily pores. When he breathes in, all these universes goes back into his body. That's how the one universe creation and then dissolution happens. So that's the original thing. Now this, what we are discussing is complete creation of only material universe. Beyond this is there is something called a spiritual universe. So from spiritual universe where Krishna, the Supreme Lord, eternally resides, between spiritual world and material world, there is something called as Brahma Jyoti, which is effulgence of the Lord. So we were discussing about this spiritual world and activities at the end of this session. And what we are focusing primarily in the about creation of this material world, because we ourselves are in this particular one of this material world. So Mahavishnu, as he thinks of creating all these universes, from you can go through the description of these slides later. So basically, where as soon as the universe comes out, it says that they appear like atomic particles that float in sunshine. So if you are fortunate enough to see the sunshine, you may see some dust particle floating. Like that it feels for Mahavishnu, the size of universes compared to Mahavishnu. And now in that particular every single universe, it's called as Pradhana, and it has this all the elements mentioned there. Gross elements like fire, water, earth, ether, subtle elements from which we can actually acquire certain knowledge. Then there are knowledge acquiring working senses. And now these things are very important to create the targeted bodies of every living entity. And then of course the subtle senses, mind, this is like actually contamination on the senses which individual soul possesses, the mind, intelligence, ego, and consciousness. So I want to emphasize one important aspect, that when this one universe comes out, is actually stays for almost like trillions of years. Ours stays for 311 trillion years. That universe sustains, and then after that Mahavishnu breathes in, universe goes in. Only the souls who have perfected their life, okay, when they came across this knowledge, they picked up devotional service, then they started chanting, they purified the heart, they developed devotional qualities, and they decide that we are done with this material world, no more desires from this particular world. Such souls, they go back to the spiritual world. Now, for remaining souls who do not have a chance to go back to the spiritual world, and they are getting absorbed back in Mahavishnu's body, depending on their desires, depending on their karma and consciousness of the previous universe, when they were absorbed back in the Mahavishnu's body, when the next new universe is created, according to the, as I mentioned, their desires, their consciousness, their karma, they get the body in the next universe. So that their kind of travel or journey of the soul continues in the next universe. This happens back and forth again and again, literally trillions of times, maybe, till the time the soul is fortunate enough to come across spiritual master or this Vedic knowledge. He picks up the devotional service and goes back. Till the time that purification is not there, soul oscillates back and forth in Mahavishnu's body and then migrating from one universe to another. Now, interesting part is all of this universe is created. The important part which makes it move is actually time. It is like a water you have kept in some vessel on induction stove. When you switch on the stove, that time the water starts hitting. So when time factor, Krishna actually enters in this universe as a time factor, and then the time factor, it starts moving the things, all the subtle bodies or gross bodies, they actually starts deteriorating, and they have this fear of death. Everybody has this fear of death, although every soul is eternal. The body which they are occupying, they are going to go at, every single soul's body is going to go at certain point of time, including Brahma's. That's what starts causing fear. And only person who has taken up devotional service and he has dissolved the contamination on the false ego, for such a person, he will no more have fear of death, because he will have solid confidence that after leaving this body, I'm going back to the spiritual world. Only such soul will not have fear of death. Everybody else has to face this fear of death due to the time factor. And then, as Krishna looks at this various universe, this Mahavishnu looks at various universe, all the souls comes from his glance. So universes are created from the bodily pores, and all the souls, they are, as he looks at this universe, all the souls enter in this universe. And as I mentioned, all these souls get their body depending on their past karma of the previous universe. Now there are a lot of prayers where Lord Brahma actually offers. So when this universe is created, the Mahavishnu expands himself as a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's navel lotus comes, and then from there the Brahma appears. All this description is there, and Brahma is very much thinking about how I can create and all. So here Krishna, what he's asking, he's actually telling something very interesting term to Brahma. Where is the prayer? Okay, it comes next, maybe. So what Mahavishnu says, what Garbhodakshaya Vishnu says to Brahma is that whatever you are asking, that I have already granted. So Brahma he was anxious how to create universe. He was distressed. How can I will I be able to create universe? That's what, because he knew that his role is that from where will he get knowledge? That's why he's offering so much of penance and everything. And Vishnu says that whatever you are looking for is already granted. And then Brahma gets all the knowledge from heart, from Vishnu, and then he starts creating this universe. The important part here to note is, let me find out that thing is already granted. Let me see if I can get it. Ah, no. Okay. So this line which says that already granted, the significance of that particular line is, um, 1 minute, is it? No. Okay. Significance of that particular line is, we need not ask any material desires from the Lord. Lord, depending on our requirement, has already granted whatever is needed for us to sustain in this world. When we go in front of Lord, we should ask for our spiritual intelligence and guidance from within, where we can develop these divine qualities and go back to Him. That's the most important part. Now, when Brahma actually gets all the knowledge, and then when he, okay, this was the last line here, as you say here. O Brahma, O depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about execution of creation. What you are begging from me has already been granted before. So that was Lord's desire as well, that Brahma let him create. Now, this is the form what Arjuna is asking in 11th chapter, because when Brahma wants to create the universe, he asks guidance from the Lord, and Lord reveals a temporary blueprint of the entire universe. And that blueprint contains planetary systems, various sense organ, various demigods, various natural ingredients, principles, and various roles of various living entities. Everything is revealed in one form, that blueprint of this entire creation. And looking at that blueprint, Lord Brahma creates this whole universe. So, what Arjuna asked Krishna to show him was this universal form, or Virata Rupa, where he can see the whole universe, specifically to understand the greatness of Lord, that Lord has created this universe, to understand his extent of his intelligence, his concern, and his so much of his qualities, and exactly how Lord has balanced so many things in this world. So this, looking at this whole form, this I'm going to discuss in the 11th chapter when we'll discuss. The more details will come here. But this is the blueprint looking at which Brahma managed to create the whole universe. And then here in this form, even this particular form is discussed in Bhagavad Gita as well in depth, where the various qualities and how it is expanded everywhere. So even for any, you can look at this line, personal representation of all qualities within universe. So anything, any quality which you can imagine, for everything there is a personal representation which Lord had shown, and then Brahma could understand that this quality also need to be existed in this particular universe. Now, the brief overview of this universe, I would say, is like, Brahma actually divided the lotus. He entered into the whole, and the lotus was divided into the three parts. And the higher planetary system, let's say 30%, middle planetary system, they are actually also 30%. The last one, lower planetary system, again 30%. As I'm going to share the slides with you, you can go through details of these slides, where it explains what all it takes. So overall, we can say that the time factor on the higher planetary system, it's like a cone system. So higher planetary system has much more longer lifespan compared to the lower planets or hellish planets. So this Janaloka, Mahaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. So these are all higher planetary system, where depending on the refinement of consciousness, people are promoted to these particular planets. And it also makes sense that because these people are, first thing, they have much more high moral values, high determination, and very refined consciousness. They, for with that consciousness and qualities, they are deserve to live maybe a few thousands of years on those planets. And of course, the higher planets has much better facilities to execute their lifespan there. And when it comes to middle planetary system, Bhuluka, Bhuvarlaka, these are in passion. So topmost, the higher planets are in actually the mode of goodness. The middle one are actually in the passionate phase, where people want to exploit something from this world. They want to achieve something, prove something, and then dominate and put somebody else and just go ahead. The way every material motivational video you can see on YouTube, they ask you that so many obstacles will come, but just like a bulldozer, go ahead and this, that. But people who do not recognize the Lord of hands of the Lord in their life, and they just want to passionately keep on achieving something, they may remain in this middle planetary systems. And there are various entities like Yakshas, Rakshasas, Siddhas, Charanas, earthly planetary systems. So many people they constitute in this mode of passion planetary systems. Below are actually ignorant planetary systems like Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala. On those planets also, depending on the living entities who stay there, their lifestyle, facilities are there, because Lord is actually looking at the spirit soul who are residing even in these planets also. But they are not so glorious, and even their lifespan is also not very vast compared to what there is in the higher planetary systems. Specifically, this Pitruloka. So let me jump to that specific diagram. Yeah. So here is actually the spiritual world. From spiritual world, from this the Vaikuntha Loka, we have this Lord Shiva's Loka, which is all constituted part of spiritual world. Then we have this Brahmajyoti. Brahmajyoti is actually Lord's effulgence. All these Brahmavadis, Mayavadis, those who want to merge into the Lord, those who want to become part of the Lord, they become part of this Brahmajyoti. Now, in Brahmajyoti, you don't have any material problems at all, but there is no spiritual bliss as well. So it's like absolutely neutral platform. And then below you see this Karana ocean, the material world, which I had actually put on the right side, little magnified manner. So many universes are expanding. One of the universes, the one which we are studying right now. In that there are 14 planetary systems. And then we have this Satyaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, all these planets, and then the lower planets, and then Pitruloka. This is what I wanted to highlight. Pitruloka is why? Because there is this Yamaloka. Yama actually resides on Pitruloka. So particularly from you and me, when at definitely at some point of time we leave this body, soul is actually transferred to the Pitruloka. This is like a waiting room before we get an audience with Yama. If even if person wants to, he is eligible to go back to the spiritual world, Yama would like to congratulate him, give him graduation certificate, and then Yama basically wants to see this pure devotee, and Yama is also pure devotee, so he likes to glorify that soul. He actually glorifies every soul who is passing out from this universe, his qualities, his struggles, how deep he has developed the relationship with the Supreme Lord. All that session happens, and then only the soul is um, very with lot of honor. He is actually transferred back to the spiritual world. But not everyone is that fortunate. So some of them, depending on their good or bad activities, one may go to higher planetary systems, one may go to lower planetary systems. But the problem is none of them is permanent. Wherever one goes, once their pious credits finish, they come to the central platform again. If somebody is supposed to suffer, they may suffer for whatever time, again they come back. And we can see this time cone. Lord wants people to spend maximum time in goodness, and even if somebody wants to suffer, Lord would like to finish their suffering quickly and make them eligible to practice devotional service again. Now the problem is this: even if somebody goes to hell, he will feel this is too long. So these hellish planetary systems, there are 28 types of different types of hells. You can go through these slides. So this whole travel is actually is like going up and down, is all temporary and miserable in this material world. Even if somebody goes to this Brahma Jyoti, they do not have attraction for the Lord, or they do not have association of other devotees who can tell them about Lord, tell the glories. So technically they are closer to spiritual world. But if they want to develop the attraction for the Lord, they have to come to the material world, take the association of devotees, practice devotional service, develop the attraction for the Lord, develop the qualities. Then only they are eligible to enter into the spiritual world. So that was the gist of this particular slide. Yeah, and then there is there are more details about what happens in every planet, what kind of facilities are there, what kind of living entities stay there. So you can go through them. And specifically these interesting heavenly planets, if you do, there are more than these slides, maybe you can refer to the last chapter of fifth canto, which gives details about how one may suffer in hell for whatever sins. And if you are too much interested, you can even read the Garud Puran, which gives much more detailed description. And then there are facilities of this description of these various heavenly planets, what happens on those planets, who resides, what their consciousness is. And then beyond heavenly planets, there is this mode of goodness planets, what kind of atmosphere is there, what is their purpose, who can reach there. All those details are described here. But the problem is, even if you go up and down, till the time one does not take to devotional service, he is not eligible. Now, when we are discussing this time, the space part is also important. I may not be able to, when we are discussing this so much of space of planetary system, time part is also important. And you can go through these slides. Specifically, this life of Brahma, which is 311 trillion years. And then there is a Kalpa. Then we have Kalpa, that is a day of Brahma. In every one day of Brahma, we have so many Manvantaras. And each Manvantara, that means 300 million years, they are guided by one particular Manu. And in that, there are what is the Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga. All these different concepts are there in these slides. And particularly in Kali Yuga, which is 432,000 years, where are we? And then how fortunate we are to have audience of the Lord so recently. All those details are there. I wanted to highlight that now there's a description of this covering up universe and everything. One of the important concept is there are so many annihilations are happening. One is the constant annihilation. Our body is constantly, so we discussed about creation, now destruction also. So destruction means even my body is constantly undergoing certain type of change, and which is leading to death at some point. So there is a constant annihilation, death of this particular body, and I may take another body. Then there is a Naimittika annihilation, which happens when Brahma goes to sleep. And then for one night of Brahma, there is a half of the planetary system is submerged, and there is a occasional annihilation. This happens at the every night of Brahma. Then there is Atyantik. So there is this Prakritic annihilation. So when the entire universe is sucked in the Mahavishnu's body, that is like entire universe is getting destroyed. And then how it happens, that is also there. Important for us is to understand this Atyantik annihilation. Atyantik annihilation means for a soul, he is done with the material world, and for him the material consciousness, the attachment to this material world is destroyed. That is Atyantik annihilation. So he's done with the material world, and he goes back to the spiritual world. So many annihilations keep on happening. The most important part is this Atyantika annihilations, for which we have to put efforts. The first annihilations happens by the laws of nature. Atyantic annihilation is what we want to destroy or dissolve our material identity and take back to the spiritual identity. Yeah, and who can pick it up? All these details are there. We already discussed few of them, and there are also description of the spiritual world, what kind of living beings there resides, what are there. So in this particular third canto, 15th chapter, the whole chapter Brahma describes about living entities, their lifestyle, the people who stay in spiritual world, what is their consciousness, what are their activities, what kind of beauty they have, what kind of resources they have. And Brahmaji tells very interesting, we'll just read this one. It is very regrettable that unfortunate people, that is you and me, do not discuss description of the Vaikuntha planets, but engage in Twitter, Facebook, and so many other social media which are absolutely unworthy to hear and which bewilders one's intelligence. Those who give up the topic of Vaikuntha, that is not discussing the scriptures at all, and take to the talk of the material world, they are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance, which is material world. So he is actually saying that Lord Brahma is saying human form of life is of such importance that we also desire to have such a life. Why? Because for in human life, one can attain just in a short span of 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever time you get, human form, one can attain perfect religious truth and knowledge, and he can understand, practice it perfect it and go back to the spiritual life. So even demigods are looking forward to have that kind of life where one can quickly purify his existence, board Vaikuntha aeroplane, and go back to the spiritual world. This is Kulashekar Alvar. Very awesome verses there. What happens when one actually sees the spiritual world, when one actually get to know the glories of the Lord, this whole material world, what it becomes. I request kindly each of you to please go through this particular slide. Everything becomes so tiny and insignificant compared to the final goal. So coming back to the first verse of Chatushloki Bhagavatam, Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate. That means when we understand everything is coming from Krishna, the purpose of it, the care of it, so everything emanating from Krishna, iti matva bhajante mam. So one who understands this perfectly, this such kind of wise people, Buddha Bhava Samanvita, they engage their consciousness in worshipping. So reading this Bhagavad Gita is actually worshipping Lord Krishna with our consciousness. So this bhakti, the process of devotional service, that is the only thing which can dissolve our contaminations of subtle body, and it helps us to promote back to the spiritual world. So it was a marathon session. I'm sorry, actually, I skipped quite a few slides. But if you have any specific questions, we still have 2 minutes to go. And I will not be giving summary today because there are so many slides. If you have any specific questions, or I can just help you to direct to some slides or some material.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
This is just a comment. I like that analogy that particles floating in sunlight. Every
Yeah.
time we see, so that's how the universes come out of the Mahavishnu's body. I really like that analogy. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, when we take up to this spiritual life, all the problems for what we are targeting, and I mean, whatever we are trying to achieve in this life, everything will appear, means in material life, everything will appear actually very insignificant compared to the final spiritual goal. It was eye-opening for me also. Thank you. Any other comments? Maybe then, yeah. So the crux of this particular session is actually when we understand how the Lord has created various things, and particularly I like this part that maybe in other religions, particularly maybe Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, whatever other religions, most of them say if you do not listen or if you do this one activity for eternality, you go to heaven. If you do not listen to me, for eternality, you go to hell. But Vedic tradition very clearly says that this material world, if you apply logic enough, it's not worth living for eternity. Heavenly planets also there, as long as there are living entities who have contaminated consciousness, we will have problems. So whether it's a heaven or hell or whatever, only spiritual life is perfect life, where we will find perfect people and perfect supreme Lord, perfect relations, and that's what we should also desire sincerely. Thanks a lot for your enthusiasm to attend this session, and we'll close it for today by chanting once Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.